All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. I am so excited for this unsermon that we are having today. We are talking today about how to build your leadership capacity as a woman of color with Reverend Amani Malaika. I am so excited to have Reverend Amani on. We are fast becoming good friends, and we have a very, very important and timely topic for us to share with you guys. So we're going to talk about the intersection of leadership and women of color, the special challenges that we face, and what we can add to our spiritual practice to make this easier. For those of you that are new to me, my name is Kat Kim. I am a spiritual mentor. I am a leadership coach and founder of the School of Divine Confidence, where I provide spiritual training and confidence coaching to rising women leaders who are ready to step into the best version of themselves and truly make a difference. Thank you guys so much for being here. I want to introduce you to my good friend. She's to the left or to the right. This is Reverend Amani, and she is the senior minister and spiritual leader of the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living in New Mexico. And this is a community that is committed to spiritual inspiration, education, and practices that lead to transform lives and holds a vision for a world that works for everyone. Welcome, my dear friend.
Hi, sweetie. It's this morning.
I know. And I know that this is your birthday week.
It is.
Happy birthday to you. I'm going to stop there. You're like, thank you for stopping there. And I know you're taking a break from social media, so thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us today.
You are so welcome. This is a super important topic to me, so I was grateful to come.
Yeah, and I want to share with everyone how this even came about. So last week, I was having a moment. I was having a day. I was like, oh my God, I'm being, I felt it in my bones that I'm being called into higher leadership. There's so much shit going on in the world right now. I have a voice and I know that. But I was like, so scared. I was like, I just felt like my voice shutting down. I didn't know how to show up. I felt the fear coming up, all the voices, all the reasons for why I should stay quiet and remain in my cave and, be careful. The ego shows up that way. Luckily, I have a very powerful spiritual practice around prayer. As a spiritual practitioner, I practice prayer. And what I feel so blessed about is that I have a community of spiritual practitioners who are licensed spiritual practitioners from the Science of Mind, New Thought movement, right? And they one phone call and I can get someone to support me in prayer. And I was going kind of through my mental Rolodex. I was like, what practitioner do I know? What practitioner do I know? And then I was like, wait a second. I know ministers. That's how I roll now. I know ministers. And I immediately thought of you because you are one of my favorite, just people in general. We connected on a really deep level. And so I texted you. I was like, I need some prayer support. And we got on. And the conversation that came from that was so rich. And I was like, we have to get this onto an interview. We have to talk about it in the open. So that's why we're here today.
And I'm so excited. And I'm so grateful that you called, because that is one of the key things I think women of color can miss in their journey is the simple practice of reaching out.
Yeah.
Of remembering you get to be supported.
Oh, that is so good.
Because we're so used to doing it alone and trooping on and, bootstrapping it and putting our, gangster superwoman capes on. Yeah. And just remembering there's a whole cadre of folks who want to support me.
Yeah. Okay, everyone, if you're listening to this, write that one down. I'm going to write it down myself. That's number one, reach out to a fellow woman of color. And that's what I did to you, with you. And I said, I'm feeling so much pressure. I'm feeling so much pressure. Like it was, I'm an energy person, so I could feel it from all different places. My
Yeah.
family, myself, the pressure I give myself, the pressure that my family gives me, the pressure I'm feeling from a society, the pressure that I'm feeling as a leader. And then this is what you said. Tell me, like, you're the one that brought this to my awareness.
Well, I think that's when we jumped into our discussion of perfectionism,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And the common experience of women of color, that we feel like we are held to this higher bar, and mostly because we've had to be, right? We've had to figure it out, make it work, support our families, find income, love up on partners, be the caretaker and caregiver in not only our family structures and community structures and our work life. And yet we forget that because that often feels like our normal, that is not actually a choice we have been often given. We just roll. We just are doing that. And so one of the things to do is take a step back and realize, wait, what is mine?
Yeah.
What truly is mine to do and what isn't?
Yeah.
And remembering that all of that positioning that we've been put in as women of color, as caregivers, as, often we find ourselves in matriarchal situations, right, in families where we are holding it down. We're just holding it down because we have to.
Yeah.
And so we can realize that, yes, many of us have been placed in those positions without choice.
Yeah.
But here we are right now in this moment where we get to choose.
Number 2, you guys, write this down. Step back and ask yourselves, what really is mine, right? Okay. I'm taking notes here. This is so good.
Journey for me, right? Just learning how to say no.
Right.
And where are my yeses, but more importantly, where are my nos?
Yeah.
And I love that idea. No is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
Just no.
Oh, see, even when you say that, I get all the things that come up around, what do you mean no? Don't I have to give a reason why? And like, aren't I supposed to be doing more, more, more? I could just sense all of that. That's where I'm feeling the pressure and the energy energetically. And when you nailed it, because when I came to you and I was bringing this up to you, I wasn't even thinking of that. I'm a woman of color, and therefore there's these expectations that I've been that I'm living under. But when you said that, I was just like, wow, it's so true. So what you're saying is, to number 2, step back.
Yeah.
First, realize that there's all this pressure because we are women of color.
Yeah.
All of these obligations that we didn't ask for, but we were just born into in many ways. And then to ask yourself, what really is mine?
Right, because the truth is, Kat, you are called to leadership.
Yeah.
You are called to use your voice.
Yeah.
And you do have this inspiration in you that says, I got to get my voice out there.
Yeah.
And so there is some pressure in that that's real.
Yes.
Right? Real, that I do have something to say and I have something to offer. And because of this perfect intersection I find myself in and you find yourself in, we have this particular skill set, this particular voice that is crucial right now on the planet.
Yeah.
And so let us be so good at bringing ourselves to the table mindfully, loudly, and carefully, right? So because we care for ourselves, because we're learning how to pause and choose and say, you know what, my voice is needed here in this conversation at this time. And I choose to bring myself and all that I am to it. Not because I'm obligated, not because my white friend said, we need to hear from you, not because my family says, I need you and don't show up because I need you here.
Yeah.
Right? There's all of these things we have to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's a spiritual practice and a spiritual foundation,
Yeah.
and a mindfulness
Yeah.
is required in our care of ourselves.
Yeah.
So we can really choose
Yeah.
where and when and how we want to use our voices,
Mm-hmm.
and our superpowers.
Yeah. I love that. Because what I'm hearing from you is like it's like you're living two parallel lives as you're being called into leadership. There is the outward facing self that is bold in taking actions, bold in using your voice, bold in showing up and being visible in front of people, speaking your truth, which can be so vulnerable, right? There's that part of leadership, which I think, for people who are rising women leaders, that's the scary part, right?
Yeah.
What I'm hearing you say is that naturally there is pressure that comes from that because we are being called into leadership.
Yes.
Wherever you are on your journey, there's
Right.
always a next step in our leadership journey where we can step it up even more. Even
Right.
more, even more. So, whether you're a seasoned leader or someone who's just being called into it, it doesn't matter. This applies to all of us. But what I hear is that as we're being called into this outward facing part of leadership, what I hear from you is on the same track, parallel journey, there's this inner
Yes.
quiet,
Yes.
almost just like like when you see the lake and there's no ripples, it's like just so quiet and serene. There's that part of leadership where I hear you saying that that's where we turn to.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's what we cultivate.
Yeah.
That's what we cultivate in ourselves. Self-care is a buzzword for a long time now, right? Like, especially for women, take care of yourself. Self-care is so important. And it is profoundly important.
Yeah.
But the ways we care for ourselves
Yeah.
is critical. And the ways we care for ourselves that allow us to cultivate and access
Yeah.
that stillness,
Mm-hmm.
which I would say is synonymous with that place of power.
Ah, yes.
Because that's the place that is an infinite wellspring of resource.
Yeah. Oh. Hey, you guys, write that down. That place of stillness is our source of power. It is an infinite wellspring. And what was it?
Of resource.
Of resource.
Source.
Yeah.
However you want to name your divine understanding.
Yeah.
That we are constantly resourcing source.
Yeah.
How I believe spirit gets here on the planet. That's how the divinity gets here.
Yeah.
That's how the world that we want to work for everyone gets created, because we are sourcing.
Yeah. This is why I love talking to ministers, y'all. This is why I love talking to ministers. So this is perfect, because what I wanted to talk about as well is what does a spiritual practice look like when it comes to leadership, and what can we do? What can we add into that? And I think you're touching on that specifically right now. Because I think in this world where so much of our focus is on the outside,
Yeah.
what we're seeing, what we're feeling, how people are reacting to us. Also, me, I talk about the consumer culture a lot, the consumer capitalism, and how it thrives off of our fear and anxiety and
And our fixedness.
and our what?
Wanting to fix ourselves.
Oh, yes,
Right?
yes, absolutely. Yes, constantly feeling like we need something outside of us. We need to buy it, we need to purchase it or consume it in order to be okay.
Right.
Whatever that is, drugs, shopping, relationships.
Right? Yoga. We'll take yoga classes thinking that we're having some sort of spiritual experience, when really we're just trying to flatten our abs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And so I love what you are talking about here. You are talking about connecting with our source. May it be God, spirit, universe, whatever that is. Let's talk about that, because that's what gets me so excited.
Well, and I've been saying over and over again, I believe in this time we find ourselves in, distraction is harder to find. Those places that keep our minds busy and our feelings numb are harder to find. And I believe it's because we're all being invited into that source.
Yeah.
And really, I believe any of us who want to be leaders in this moment, any of us who really want to be at the table and bring our voices into this new world we're building together, we have to have a practice.
Yeah.
Or 50, right?
Yep.
And it doesn't matter what faith tradition you follow. It doesn't matter if you even follow a faith tradition.
Yeah.
You have practices that connect you to that source, to that stillness, to that power.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say? This is a question I get a lot. What would you say to people who have a hard time trusting in God or the source, whatever name they have? And this is very common because, trauma
There's
they've received in religion. Like, what would you say to that?
real talk.
Yeah, let's go, girl.
We have to work out the woundedness. We can't keep hanging out but I was hurt and I was shamed and I wasn't welcome. We have to work out that woundedness.
Yeah.
If you are mad at God, if you are mad at religion, if you are mad at Jesus, if you are mad at Buddha, if you are whoever you're mad at,
Yeah.
it has to get worked out.
Yeah.
Because it's in the way.
Ah. Ooh, I love this. I have never heard anyone speak about it like that. I think we've always tiptoed around the word God and people who have been harmed by church or religion, and it's like we're really careful. Well, at least it's my experience. Like I don't want to push religion on you. I don't want to push God on you. Of course, and we don't want to do that. But we are in a time and place now. And you being a minister, me being on the ministerial path and being a spiritual practitioner,
Right.
we know the power of God. I mean, we have an idea of the power of God. We don't really know.
Goes into the wellspring.
Yeah, we've had glimpses of it, and that itself is just extraordinary and massive. But we know, we are convicted in our relationship with spirit and the importance of that, right? So what I hear you saying is like, we need to get over it and heal that trauma with God.
Like today. Today.
Oh, I love it.
And here's the thing, and I'm always saying this to my community because many people find centers for spiritual living or, what are often considered alternative spiritual communities because they've been wounded in more personal settings.
Yeah.
And so when I say God, I always often have to say, and if that word makes you do this, there's work to do.
Yeah.
There's work to do. Because when I say God, I'm not talking about some white guy in the sky.
Yeah.
I reclaimed that word from myself.
Yes.
Right? I know what that means to me.
Yeah.
And it is my word because it's short and it's easy and I like how it sounds.
What is it for you?
And I say God.
You say God. Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
And I try to be mindful. And so I'll switch it up and say the universal intelligence, and Mother, Father, God. All of that language, whatever works for you, find it.
Yeah.
And if there's something that is literally triggering a response in you, that is a woundedness that needs to get worked out.
Yes. And therefore, even more reason for a powerful spiritual practice that is not just about manifesting, y'all. Okay, it's not just about like, how can I manifest the biggest house and most money? You and I have talked about this, and I write about this in an essay called Consumer Spirituality.
Which I love that essay so much.
I know, I'm so excited because I'm going to be doing a sermon with you at your center. Yes. But before I get into that, there's so many things I want to talk to you about. I love what you're saying about God and being convicted in, healing that relationship with God, because we need God right now. We need God.
Love it. And that's the thing I think the woundedness gets in the way of.
Yeah.
Is if you are so blocked away from identifying with any form of spirituality, then you are missing out on the greatest source you have that is in you.
Yeah.
right? And so we got to get those blocks out of the way. And that's really the majority of the work,
Yeah.
right? It's moving the barriers.
That's the practice. That's the practice every single time, is removing the barriers. And the barriers are really your ego, you know, the I can'ts, I shouldn'ts, the fears, all of that.
The other
Um,
thing I hear all the time is, I don't really do stillness.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm not really a meditator.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm really saying to people, like, do moving meditation, do contemplative practice and prayer, and get on the phone with your girlfriends. It's a huge spiritual practice for me, right? Talking through my crap.
Yeah.
And do stillness,
Yeah.
because we have to learn how to get still.
Yeah.
We have to learn how to sit with whatever shows up in our minds and all of that negative self-talk and all that crazy. And we have to be willing to confront that,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
that we can get it out of the way.
Yeah. Absolutely. So for those of you that are watching right now, I want you guys, I mean, this woman is, I just love her. If you guys have stuff around God, if you guys have baggage around that, follow her, follow Reverend Amani. Go, I put a link into her Facebook page, and I'm gonna in a few minutes, later, not okay, soon we will be talking about other ways to connect. I just want this conversation to go on forever. That's why. But make sure to follow her, because you are now doing your sermons online, right? Which was completely unexpected, of course, due to COVID. And I'm so excited for you specifically, Reverend Amani, because I know you have so much to share and so much impact. So tell me, like, what's going on there with your center and what's showing up online for you.
We've actually been having a really great time. We've been live streaming for several years, but I feel like this has given us an opportunity to do it well,
Yeah.
and to truly turn outwards.
Mm-hmm.
I say a lot of spiritual communities have insideritis,
Mm-hmm.
and we're having an opportunity at our center to really turn outwards and serve more people. And that's really exciting to me.
Yeah.
So our Sunday sermon and our full services live stream every Sunday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time
Yeah.
on the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living's page.
Yeah.
And you can also find all of my messages edited down to just the sermon on YouTube, ABQ, CSL, and more and more. I'm looking at more and more ways to reach people and to get what I understand out there.
Yeah, yeah. And I will make sure to have all the links for you guys. I really want you guys to follow Reverend Amani. One of the things I love about the New Thought movement, going back to what we were talking about, is that it is it is technically a religion now. Did you know?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
it is technically.
To debate it.
Yeah, right. It's technically now recognized as a religion. But it mostly appeals to people like myself, where I had I was so turned off by religion. Don't say God to me. And it provided a safe place for me to go deeper with my spiritual study. So it was way past spirituality and manifesting 101. Okay, it wasn't that, but it was a way for me to go deeper, connect with spirit, learn more about it. And even there was like little bits and pieces of like Bible verses and things like that. And I was like, whoa, at first, but clearly I'm like all about it now. Well, how would you describe the New Thought movement? Like, what is New Thought?
Well, I would say, it's rooted in several faith traditions, and it's really a synthesis
Mhm.
of the great truths that run through all the great faith traditions and world philosophies. And
Yeah.
so for me, the reason it ended up being home for me was because I truly am an interspiritualist. I draw from many of the world's traditions and teachings, and I have my whole life. And so to find a community, which I was missing,
Yeah.
that was open to this interspiritual approach, to really getting deep
Yeah.
into what those truths are and have been for millennia.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, what was important was that God is not a white man in heaven with a staff judging you and condemning you for all of your transgressions.
Never has been.
Never has been. One of the things that I practiced every time when I started this training and this study was that every time I saw the word God, I would change it to the word love.
That's great.
Yeah, that was really powerful.
That is such a great way for people to begin to heal that wound.
Yes. Yes. Isn't that
Fabulous.
good? So good. Yeah. It helped me tremendously. And then what I learned from New Thought, the teachings was that God, again, is not a man, but it's a substance. God is a substance. And so the way that I refer to God now is that it is an it. For me,
Yeah.
that works. It's not a he, she. It can be. It's all of that, but it's an it. It's a thing that moves through us. It creates through us. And for me, I can wrap my mind around that, and it just expands my
Yeah.
ability to, just even um, be in communion with that idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
That it
So
is in us and beyond us.
way beyond. Yeah. Yeah. So beyond. Okay, so we have these steps. Like one, um, for women of color who are being called into leadership. One, when you're having a moment, reach out to a fellow woman of color in leadership. Have someone on your speed dial.
That's right.
Yeah, someone who gets you, someone who is in the same space as you, or even a few steps ahead. Right? And we need to be there for each other, you guys. Okay, I got to tell you something. What I love about what's happening in, around us in the last, I mean, it's obviously clearly exploded in the last 2 or 3 months with the pandemic and the rebellion that's going on. But mostly since Trump was inaugurated, there has been a big change, And what I love is that I feel more connected with fellow women of color. I really do, in a way that I've never felt before. And maybe 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to call you I wouldn't have done that because for whatever reasons. But now I feel like we are in the time and place where we need to do that and we need to be there for each other. So I want every one of you guys who is listening that we need to build that network. We need to build that connection that has zero expectations, no agenda, just connecting. Let's be there for each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because that's where the gold is.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
where the gold is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's step one. Reach out. Step two is when you're going through a moment, having a moment, you ask, you step back and you ask, what is mine?
Yes. Yeah. I'm losing you a little bit, Kat.
Yeah, I'm losing you too, but I think
there you are.
Okay, so you're saying, so step back for as long as you need to, and then I missed that last part.
Until you feel convicted around your yes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Step back for as long as you need to until you are convicted with your yes.
Yes.
Beautiful. That's 2, you guys. And 3, when you step back, part of, stepping back for as long as you need is to connect with that stillness. Because in the stillness is power. And tell us what that abyss, that beautiful thing you said was.
It's where we access the wellspring of infinite source.
You are speaking words of truth right now. I can feel it. I can feel the vibration of that because I can feel it in my body. I get calm.
Right.
So you guys, I want you to rewind that. Take a note of it, of what she said, because that's really, really powerful. Especially right now in this world where there's so much going on and it's moving faster and faster. A global pandemic and then an uprising in a matter of weeks of each other.
Yeah.
This is not going to slow down, you guys.
No.
So what Reverend Amani is saying is so important, that we need to, when on the track of leadership, as we're being out there and things are moving quickly, we also have to be in here.
Yes. maybe more so.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. I love those 3 steps. I want to end that part because I think that's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And next, what I want to talk about is you and what you are offering, like what's coming up for you. Tell me about this group that you are starting in July.
So one of the things we do at the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living is different groups called spirit groups, and they have multiple different topics, but I'm feeling really called right now to support our Black, Indigenous people of color.
Yes.
And so I'm going to be starting a small group, and it can have as many people as it needs to have, online in July. And it'll be specifically for folks who socially identify as Black, Indigenous, or of color, so that we can come together and, like you said, connect and just be together.
Yeah.
But also encourage and share spiritual practices and tools to move us in this time, because we need it.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds beautiful. I'm going to provide links to that, everyone that's listening, and I'm just so excited, Reverend Amani. Thank you. Do you have any other words?
Just please, 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 please remember that you are already whole.
Yeah.
You are already absolutely, perfectly who you are, and we need you.
Yeah. Beautiful. You know what I love about you? When you speak, um, you really calm me down. You ground me. I think you ground me into God. There's an experience I have with you that whenever you speak these words of truth, I feel it grounding into my soul, and I just like chill out. And
Chill
I
is
pause, and I'm like, oh yeah, what she's saying is so good right now. And it's not, when most people talk, they talk and you kind of have to think about it. But my experience of you is when you're speaking, the words are like living inside of me already or something, and I can feel it inside.
they are. They absolutely
That's
are.
right, they are. Oh, I love it so much. Oh my goodness. Okay, will you come on again? Because I think people are going to love you, and we'll have conversations. If you guys have any questions or comments, post them in the comment box. Let me know if this resonates. I am so grateful for Reverend Amani taking time out on her social media hiatus during her birthday week to be with me. This is just the very beginning of a long relationship. I know it. We connected immediately, and I'm going to have her on more. And I'm going to be also a guest
Yes,
at.
you're going to come play with me on June 28th.
Yeah, yeah.
Sunday live stream. I'm pumped
Exactly.
about
I am so excited. I love it. And you guys follow her, follow the links. There is going to be so much coming from Reverend Amani. I know it. And look out for the program or the group, the support group that she will be launching in July. This is what we need, you guys. We need to be there for each other as leaders, as rising women leaders, as women of color. We've got to be there for each other. There is a connection that we have that is innately living in our blood, in our bones, an unspoken connection. And it's time to cultivate that, to nurture it, and so that together we can rise.
because we already are.
Yes. Oh, this is why I love having conversations with you. Oh my God. Thank you so much for being here, Reverend Amani. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. I will see you soon, sister.
Yes.
Call me.